It's like a stories plus Japanese sauce, shoyu and wasabi. The famous one is Kuchisake-Onna.
Okay.
People actually believe that it's American CIA trying to do experiments by having these stories be told.
Oh, man, that's conspiracy.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy. Satoru-kun, they began to extinct.
Okay. I see where this is going. Yeah. God, this is like the marketing genius. What if I turn around?
What if you turn around? Yeah, Agari-Bito. Hey, I'm looking for a fishing rod. Have you seen one? And footsteps in forest is pretty clear, like all these sticks like
All naked smiling man.
all naked smiling man from around the forest.
So that was lucky.
That was a lucky one.
Oh God. So this is like Hello everyone. This is Vic and welcome to the special episode of KND featuring the night mode version, the ghost series, candlelit special. We haven't said on the choice of the word yet that what we're going to be calling this, but obviously this is special and this is meant to be scary and spooky, so please be scared and be spooked by our content today. So today we have a very special guest. Welcome back ต้นกล้าฮาตะสวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ
Hi,
It's
thank
good
you.
to be back.
Thank you so much for coming back.
Yeah, thank you you too.
Yeah, because we had so much time last time that you came around, and we decided that we need more ghost stories.
Well, people seems to enjoy ghost stories in English version. But
Yeah, does that surprise you?
Yeah, it really surprised me, especially when I scrolled on the Twitter.
Yeah.
It was on the trend.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was very surprised. And yeah, I think we should, do ghost stories more often.
I think
Something
so
like
too, and that's why we invited Ton Kla back to KND featuring. It's meant to be a very special series. So let's have more ghost stories because we need to be scared. I think that's the fun of life.
Yeah.
And if you feel that it's too stressful out there, maybe you're too stressed with work, with relationship, with life in general, I think ghost stories could be a very good solution to your stress.
Yes.
Surprisingly, because most people might go like, okay, if we are already stressed, we might want to listen to fun story. But you know what? Ghosts could be so much fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Especially when you're in traffic. It's raining outside. It's raining season right now.
Like driving at night.
Yeah, this stories
man.
will fit your trip.
Okay,
Really
all right.
well.
So let's hear about what we're going to be having today as the content. So today, actually, we have talked a lot before taping this episode. And one idea that you suggested we like so much is the urban legend. Yeah. So the urban legend mainly is like the story that, well, we'd like to believe it is real, but it's obviously made up. But who knows? Maybe it's real. All right. But it kind of has this element of like spookiness a little bit or like mysterious thing about those urban legends. And it kind of got me thinking about the word in Thai, กุศโลบาย because a lot of times when we listen to these urban legends, it kind of can be thought of the way a grown-up would tell their children, like just to create some positive behavior for the children. But maybe if we want to explain in scientific fact, it might be too boring for the kids to, okay, I got it and I'll obey whatever you tell me to. So this is kind of like the tactic or the strategies, right?
Yeah, because kids, they enjoy stories more.
Yeah.
And stories will make them absorb more of the idea behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
So talking about the กุศโลบาย have you heard things like, okay, you should not be swallowing like chewing gum because it's gonna be in you for 7 years.
Yeah.
Or this, my mom told me a lot when I was young. Like, don't eat lying down like that. Like, อย่านอนกิน Like sometimes we like reading our cartoons and we are lying down on the floor and then we kind of snack at the same time. And mom, you'll become a snake if you. If you're eating lying down and stuff like that. So the kid's mind cannot understand like the reality from scientific or like make believe things yet. So
didn't make sense at all.
I don't want to become a snake. So okay, I'll get up. Stuff like that, right? Yeah.
Well, in Japan, we also have a lot ofสโลบาย and one strange thing is that don't point at thunder or something. Like also in Thailand, like don't point at the rainbow.
Yes.
You will lose your finger.
ใช่ชี้รุ้งแล้วนิ้วจะกุด
Yeah. I don't know.
So it's thunder in Japan?
In Japan, I think it's like don't point at thunder or don't reply to the thunder. And if you do that, your belly button will get stolen by the oni.
Ooh, the god of thunder?
The god of thunder.
Also Japanese Thor, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And I have no idea what's behind that.
Yeah.
And
what would that achieve? Like
I think it's just to make the kids not be scared about the thunder.
Oh, okay.
In especially inside the house, like don't scream, don't be terrified.
Yes.
But there's oni behind the thunder. So
right.
There's a little ย้อนแย้ง a conflict.
It's conflicting, right?
It's conflicting.
Yeah, because we can understand when we say like don't eat lying down because they don't want us to choke, right? Or don't swallow chewing gum because also they don't want to choke. So this is for the sake of the children and just keep them healthy and alive, right?
Yes.
But some of the tales is like it's incredible and it's just like it's for pure fun.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's always story behind it. Yeah.
Well, I will begin the Japanese urban legend right now.
Okay.
And I think there are so many urban legends in Japan, especially before social media, during social media, and until today. There's so many different stories, and we'll consider that as an urban legend. First of all, I think urban legends is like it's like something that people believe more than stories.
Yeah.
It creates urban legends. Like
because it could be real.
It could be
and
real.
it's not that old because the word like urban, right? Is as opposed to like ancient folklore.
Yeah.
That sounds like 1,000 years ago, but urban legend is like not too long ago.
Yeah,
and
it's like recent years, and if you go to that town, you will hear the stories about that town.
Yes.
Or if you go to this university, you will hear about that place university.
Right. All schools and universities have a lot of those.
Yeah, but there are lots of stories, and not quite recently, but in the early days of urban legends in Japan, we have a lot of urban legends. The famous one is Kuchisake-Onna.
Okay.
Kuchisake-Onna is a girl that wears a mask and with a long red dress. She'll walk up to you and she'll ask you, "Am I pretty?"
Oh, okay.
And you say, "Oh yeah, you're pretty." And she'll take off her mask and you'll see her lips go straight across her face to the ear and then smiles at you and even this, "Am I still pretty?" And you will scream and run away. And that's basically the whole stories. And if you say, "No, you're not pretty," you'll be taken down and you're dragged to hell or your lips will become like her or something. It's just to keep the children scary. And these stories happen, I mean, it came out of nowhere around the year 2002.
Oh, it's relatively new.
It's pretty new. I was very surprised.
Yeah.
Like around year 2002, people began to like, oh, there's Kuchisake-Onna. You just have to be careful when you go back from school to your home or just not to be late because this lady will come and will look for you.
And maybe they don't want their kids to like talk to strangers.
Yeah, and the idea behind it is that the teachers and the parents, I don't know, they somehow came up with these stories and this idea just to make their children go back home safely and not to be not to be home late because these stories they have like exact time where the lady will appear.
That is clever.
If you're in the park after 5 o'clock or something.
Okay.
This lady will appear.
There's a timeline.
Yeah, it's pretty clever. And I don't know if it's upatanmu. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
So many people start seeing the lady with the red dress wearing a mask.
Okay.
And people wearing a mask during that time will pop out more from the crowd because it's not COVID. Not many people wears a mask. If someone wears a mask, they will like, oh, you have like a really, you know.
And red dress.
And red dress.
Oh, that's a bad combination for clothing.
And so people start to spot those ladies like around Japan and their actual stories that came out like, oh, I witnessed this stuff. I've seen this stuff. And it was terrifying. But overall, the idea is that just some parents try to, talk to the teacher and make these stories up so our children will go back home safely. But the stories evolve further than that.
Yeah.
And some people actually research about it. There's a lot of interesting things that people discover. Like in the north, we wear red dress. In the south, we wear brown dress or something like that.
There's a variation?
There's suddenly variations and a time difference and hairstyles difference and appearance difference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really funny. And there's one theory that in Japan, we have this belief we call yokai. I think yokai and Japanese religions are pretty related because before Japan starts to merge with Buddhism, I think Japan have this religion called Shinto. And Shinto is basically a religion that believes in nature, believes that anything that came out naturally has some spirits lived inside.
You mean like forest and waterfall, stuff like that?
Yeah, there's a spirit behind the waterfall. There's a spirit in this rock. There's a spirit in the tree.
Ooh.
And yokai came after that because everything has a spirit. So anything by nature, for example, a thunder or tsunami or typhoon, people will make them appear more visually by creating a character to those natural happenings.
So basically, there's a god for everything, like all the natural phenomena.
Yeah, there's a god for and like. For example, if you hear some creaks during the night, it's actually this yokai because, they will relate this. And this belief is like 1,000 years ago and it continues to live in Japan. And the Kuchisake-Onna happens to be similar to one kind of yokai, like same face, same smile, a girl with a long hair. There's a theory that, these urban legends might be from during the Edo time, where there's also this yokai.
I see.
And also, some people believe that this is basically not from parents to teacher. I mean, just to make the children go home early, but it's actually from CIA, from American CIA.
What?
Yeah, to American CIA, American and Japan, they have a complicated relationship.
Right.
And
since the wartime.
Yeah, since the World War, and after that, CIA actually may play some parts in Japan. Well, it's
okay.
It's like Area 51 or something.
Yeah, it's thought to be true.
Yeah, it's hard to be true, but people actually believe that it's American CIA trying to do experiments by having these stories be told and see how many people will react to the upatanmu.
Oh, man, that's conspiracy.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's the stories about the Kuchisake-Onna.
Oh my God. Wow.
Well, I don't know if like compared to Thailand, for example, I think Thailand famous urban legend is like Yai Speed.
Oh yeah, yeah. People heard about that.
Yeah, it's a beat.
But also there's a variation to that because I've talked to the member of my teams before, and each person heard different stories.
Yeah.
Like there's a different kind of it's a beat.
Yeah, it's a beat, right?
So what is yours?
Well, I heard Yai speed is maybe from around Khon or something like that. And there's this Yai will chase after you, and her speed is actually a motorcycle speed, something like that. That's what I heard. But in Thai, I think it's pretty simple. Right? It's pretty simple. Like an old lady will chase you if you ride during the night. So be careful not to drive around during the night or something.
Yes.
But in Japan, see, like people dig more. I don't know if in Thailand maybe people today dig more about Yai speed, but Japanese people like they tend to dig deeper and deeper, and maybe there's this stories, maybe there's this theories behind the stories.
Okay, you mean that dig back into the history of like the old folk tale, folklore, see if there's a connection, see if there's a conspiracy behind this.
Yes.
Oh. That's fun. This sounds very Japan-like too.
Yeah.
Like they have to get to the bottom of this.
And so, this is the first stories. The stories you will hear after this.
Okay.
Is actually something pretty similar. It's like
So more urban legends.
It's like a stories plus Japanese source.
Right.
Plus shoyu and wasabi. So
So super Japan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Super Japan. So that's the stories about Kuchisake-Onna. And there's this famous stories called Satoru-kun. So, Satoru-kun is famous in Japan, but it's not globally famous.
So kung like เด็กชาย
Satoru-kun,
นั่นเอง
เด็กชาย Satoru. Satoru-kun. Is that Satoru-kun, during the time when there's a payphone, you go to the payphone, you put in a 10 yen coin in the payphone, and you call your own number, your own cell phone number.
Okay.
And when you call your own cell phone number, you tell, you say Satoru-kun, Satoru-kun, Satoru-kun like 3 times. And then please tell me blah, 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 blah. And ask whatever you want to know.
Okay. All right.
And within 24 hours, Satoru-kun will call you back on your cell phone.
With the answer?
With the answer. And there's this one rule that when Satoru-kun calls back, never to look behind you.
Okay.
Or else you will be taken to hell or something.
Just like press accept the call and then just listen to the answer, but never turn around.
And the story is, it became one of the galalet. It became one of the things that
like games?
Like games, like one of the things that youth during that time go out to find a payphone and put in the coin and call and ask for it. And there's so many different stories.
A trend. It's like a trend these days.
It became a trend and so many different variations of Satoru-kun.
Oh, okay.
And that's basically the stories. But it's hard to believe. But I think people today believe that during the time when these stories came up, is a transition between telephone and phone booth.
The payphone,
The payphone. And payphone is pretty expensive. And they began to extinct.
Okay.
So
I see where this is going.
So somehow these stories came up to encourage people to
use more
payphone.
God, this is like the marketing genius of like the phone company.
See where this is going.
Yes. Wow. Because I was going to say, I can imagine this story happening like late 90s because that's the time where enough of us get like mobile phone, right? But payphone or phone booth still exists. Yeah.
It's during the transition time.
Oh God. So this is like, man.
Yeah.
This is clever again. Yeah.
And it's surprising because people like try to find different way. Or maybe if I don't put 10 yen, if I put 100 yen, what will happen? If I insert the phone card, what will happen? So.
And what if I turn around?
What if you turn around? But the idea behind it is that to maybe encourage a little last push before
the last push.
The last push
before the business goes out.
Yeah.
Wow, that is nice. Okay.
It's pretty clever.
Right,
It's
yeah.
pretty Japanese.
So
clever.
besides like serving parents and teachers purpose, it also serves marketing purpose.
Marketing purpose.
Wow. I wonder what else they use these urban legends for. And maybe we start to use more urban legends in like advertising our show or I don't know, whatever. The standard should put this in like their like marketing campaign, like use urban legends. All right.
Well, there are actually some really scary urban legends that has I don't think they have any meanings behind it, but well, a good stories can evolve to urban legends when people starts to believe the stories, the actual stories, and witness more and more variations, more perspective.
Yeah.
But well, yeah, the one I chose today is pretty. They have something behind it, some source behind it.
Right. Okay. So from what I hear, to make it convincing and trending urban legends, it's got to have like some elements of like oldness and elements of spookiness, like ghosts. That would be a great addition to your urban legend. Just add ghosts, man. Add ghosts, and the possibility of you being dragged to hell somewhere in the story, that would work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the famous one, the toilet no Hanako-san. I think a lot of Thai people also heard about Hanako-san and the way it is a trend in Japan. Well, during my time when I was a kid, I get to live in Japan for a little bit. And well, on elementary school, me and my friends and all the people in school, we all did Hanako-san like at least once in a life.
Yeah.
We'd experienced that and it's pretty fun experience. It's like, well, looking back, it's like you go to some Disneyland or something. It's thrilling, it's fun. But there's also a lot of conspiracy behind the Hanako-san stories.
Yeah.
Well, basically, the stories is that there's this ghost called Hanako-san, which have this Japanese style bob hair and white shirt and red skirt. I believe red skirt that have stripes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
แบบเอี้ยมนี่นะครับ
เอี้ยมประมาณนั้นแหละครับ
Alright.
เป็นเอี้ยมกระโปรง
Okay.
And she'll be on the on the very last toilet.
Stall. Okay.
Very last toilet on the, in the school. And if you go there after school, knock on the door 3 times and ask her to come out, you will hear people respond.
It's always 3 times, right?
It's
like
always 3
3 times. It cannot be 4, cannot be 2. It's got to be 3.
It has to be 3 times. So I think you made a really good point. We should talk about the number 3 sometimes.
Yeah, because I've heard the same thing about like Candyman, right?
Yeah,
you
3
like
times.
look in the mirror and you say Candyman like 3 times, or is it 5 times? I'm not even sure, but 3 seems to come up a lot in these kind of stories. Yeah.
I don't know what's with number 3. Like if you go and you clap, you also 3 times, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, I don't know what's behind, but yeah.
Yeah, so knocking on the doors and call Hanako-san.
3 times, and you hear some girl like say hi, with like the answer. And the stories is that, well, it might be a yokai. It might be some old spirits, but when these stories came up all over Japan again, every school, including high school, every elementary school, have their own version of Hanako-san.
Yeah.
And people began to, go after school to the last end of toilet, or people are scared to use that toilet because they are afraid that they'll get dragged by the...
Yeah.
And there are so many stories behind it. And the original stories, I believe, is that there's this girl who was maybe stuck in the toilet during the summer, and she can't get out, and then she
got left there.
She got left there, and then she died, and so she never go anywhere. And that might not be the original because there are so many stories behind Hanako-san. Some people say there's this girl who, because Hanako-san, I forget to tell that. I forget to tell, but the toilet is always on the second floor. Has to always be on the second floor or the third floor.
Okay.
The very top of the school.
I see.
There's no Hanako-san on the bottom floor. I don't know how.
No Hanako-san on the first floor.
Yeah,
no.
I don't know how it works, but it works that way.
I see. Okay.
And so people might believe that there's this girl who suicide, and the window that actually has no balcony is the toilet window. So you open the window, you jump over and suicide, and you become the ghost in the toilet. And the spin-off, I'll say the spin-off goes as far as there's actually these stories that happened, I think in around 1980s or something, that there's a criminal that went to the apartment and he murdered everyone. And there's this little girl who escaped but badly injured and ran away from the incident. And she, being a small girl, she has nowhere to go except the place she goes every day, which is her school. And so she came up to the toilet and she hid there until, because she is injured, and then she escaped there.
Bled out to
death. There's actually this story. So maybe that story it might relate to Hanako-san, or it might just actually be a tragic story. But it became Hanako-san, we all know, all over Japan. And a lot of people said there's this conspiracy behind it. Is that so the teacher tries to encourage the students to stay at school and play and have this activity at school until the parents come and pick them up, not to go home alone because there's.
All right. So this is something that would keep the children at school
because it has to be after school, right? So so it'll keep the children at school and not get bored. So these stories might came up, and there's also this theory that the only place you can go anytime as you want during the classroom is the toilet, right? It will encourage just to go to toilet for a little bit and quickly come back because it's scary in the toilet.
Okay, so
there's this story in the toilet. So you don't.
They're not gonna hang out in a toilet.
Hang out in a toilet and waste time in the toilet. Because there's this ghost in the toilet.
Ooh, Hanako's listening to whatever you're saying or doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it became urban legends.
Yeah.
And
but is that all she does? When people knock 3 times on the door on the toilet stall, and just call her name, and she would say hi. Yeah, I'm here, and that's it.
No. She'll respond, and if you wait there, the doors will open, and she'll walk out from the bathroom.
Okay.
And if you don't run away, you will be dragged down into the toilet.
Okay.
And Japanese toilet during the old times is really scary because I've experienced once, and it's basically เหมือนส้วมคอห่านนะครับผมไม่รู้จะอธิบาย it's flat on the floor.
Yeah, where you're supposed to squat and use it squat. It's squat toilet.
Squat toilet.
Yeah.
It's flat, and there's a giant hole in the middle of the toilet.
Yeah.
And the hole just goes down wherever.
To hell.
Yeah,
supposedly.
Wherever,
I think. Yeah.
I think it's the way they designed the building, but it's really scary.
Really scary, right?
Because I've experienced once, and my shoes fell down the hole, and it's just disappear into the oblivion or something. Yeah, it's really scary, and to imagine that if you are squatting and some hands just rise up
that's
from there.
Not a pleasant image to have in your head.
Yeah, and there are actually so many children that falls down into that.
Small children, right?
Small children can easily slip down.
Why did they decide it like that? Why did they have to make it that big?
I have no idea.
Wow, okay.
But it used to be like that until they used the flush system.
Right.
Make everything flat and have this little hole and with a cap.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Another conspiracy.
Not a conspiracy.
Okay, but this again goes back to serve the parents and the schools, teachers like purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, of how to like handle children like more easily.
More easily.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, maybe there's something more behind it.
Yeah.
But well, people actually believe that, oh, okay, it might, these stories might be because of that.
I am now having this image of like the PTA meeting, like Parents Teachers Association. They get together. Okay, we need to come up with the stories to blah blah blah.
Yeah. And surprisingly, I think it's incredible because if that's really true, during the time where there's no social media, it's just mouth to mouth.
Right.
Like you tell the stories, and it spread all over the country.
Yes.
I think that's something amazing.
That's amazing,
That's
right?
amazing, right?
Yeah. But I can actually see why it went viral that way, because this is exactly the kind of story that people love telling. And they would love it to like be true, or like we don't know if that's true, but maybe let's like go explore it. Let's do this. Let's try it. Yeah. That's human nature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's all that's a part of the example about the Japanese urban legend.
There's so many more.
I would say it's maybe early days. I don't know if it's early days around 2000. I mean, around 1990s to 2000. I think that's the time when a lot of things change, right? Like, a lot of things change all the time, but the trend that changes a lot, like cell phone booth, to some televisions, more to be more. People get access to more of
turning into the new millennial.
Millennium. And so these stories just came out. But recently, there are also some urban legends new urban legends that just came out
like
of
new.
New.
Like how
this.
new is this?
I think it's like around 2015, and
that is super new, like less than 10 years.
It's quite new.
Okay.
Like, when people have access to, I think, the first iPhone or something, right?
That's like 2007. Yeah, when the first iPhone came out.
And later than that. So so maybe around like iPhone 6 or 7, I don't know.
Okay.
But basically, during the time when all the people have this touch screen and get easily access to the internet, the social media,
all right,
the trend. And so in Japan, we also have this similar to Pantip, but it's Japanese webboard. And in Japan, we call Nichan.
Nichan. Okay,
and
I've heard of it.
Yeah, and in Nichan, there are so many different kinds of stories, amazing stories. And I don't know if it's true or not, but there's so many things that came out of Nichan and went viral and also considered as urban legends.
So I think you've got one for us at least today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I bought one example today. This story is called Agari-Bito. Agari-Bito. And the Agari means going up. Bito refers to person, a human. Agari-Bito. So
a person who's going up?
A person who's going up.
Okay. Sounds interesting already.
The stories is pretty interesting because this guy just starts to tell the stories. In the ghost stories,
like
column,
section. Okay. It's like Reddit, right?
Yeah, it's like Reddit.
Yeah.
And people share their own stories. And this guy suddenly just came out of nowhere and tell other people, have you ever wondered where's this most scariest place where you can be? I don't know for anyone, but for me, it's in the mountain, in the forest. Just imagine the moment you step foot into the forest, you think there's like a barrier where you can't see, a switch where just, all of a sudden everything is quiet, everything is nature compared to a few seconds ago when you just walk.
Yeah. Coming in from the city.
Yeah. And the more you stay in the nature, the more you enjoy the nature. Like you are a cola and you open the bottle cap all the time and all the air just flows out of the bottle of a cola. That's what I think when people stay in the forest for too long. You will get blend into the forest. And so I think there's some mysterious energy and a connection between human and a forest or a mountain.
Okay.
And so this guy suddenly just starts
Yeah.
typing this into a column all of a sudden. And so people like freaked out, like, oh, what happened? Like, what are you going to tell us from now? Like, where is this going to go? And so he said, like, do you believe in Agari-Bito? Agari-Bito is basically a human that lives inside a mountain. Well, it's not as simple as that. And so he gave this one example. It's his own experience. He lives in a city, and when he was little, he often, during summertime, goes back to his grandmother's house. And his grandmother lives in a small village in Kyushu, like south of Japan. Well, going to grandmother's place, of course, there's no console gaming. There's not many people play sports and not many little children inside a small village.
Yeah.
So he has to find a way to entertain himself. And that's why his grandparents bought him a small fishing rod.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, with a fishing rod, you make your own fishing tools and go fishing. It's good, like to encourage the kids to go outside and play and have their activities. So he really keeps this fishing rod as his precious treasure. Like when you're little children, you're like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I have to tell this to everyone. When I go back to the city, I'll bring this back too. And one day he decides to go to a river near his place. But when he starts fishing, this old man said like, oh, if you fish here, you're not going to catch any fish because right here where you fish is at the very end of the river. The fish will have more fish if you go up where the...
Upstream.
Yeah, the upstreams.
Right.
Okay, so he walks up the streams and then, of course, the river flows from the mountain. So he just walks all the way up, I think a few hours or something. And it's like a little adventure for him. He had fun.
Yeah.
The sun is really high in the noon and the sound of forest is...
And he was by himself? Just
He was
him?
all by himself.
Oh, okay.
And so he went up. He think, oh, okay, I think this place is good enough. And so he decides to throw his fishing rod.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe the water is not too deep. His fishing rod is pretty heavy.
Right.
It's for like maybe a more deeper water or something. His fishing rod hits the rock and it snaps from the strings. And his fishing rod like goes all the way downstreams. So he's like, oh, no, it's my treasure.
Yeah.
I have to go and find it. I can't lose it. My grandma's gonna kill me or something. And he just ran, trying to find the fishing rod. And I don't know how far, he said he doesn't remember how far he went looking for the fishing rod, but the sun began to get a little darker, maybe because it's in the forest. The angle of the sun or something, the trees might block the view, and it began to get a little darker, and it's like, oh no, I can't go back like this. And when he's looking for his rod, he heard this sound, like a tree, like a tree creaking sound, like, and footsteps.
Yeah.
And footsteps in forest is pretty clear, like, and all these leaves, all these sticks, like crack, like, crack. And what he saw is a naked man. He said, naked man standing near the river. He said he don't know. He doesn't know why he wasn't surprised during that time. Maybe he was just so little that he focused on what he lost, and he just want to find the thing he lost. But that guy like turns to him and smile at him, and he screamed at that guy like, "Hey, I'm looking for a fishing rod. Have you seen one?" And he's like, like that. So, oh, weird. Maybe there's some weird guy, but okay, maybe I'll just keep looking for a fishing rod. And that guy takes the eye off him and went down to look at the river. So, maybe that guy is trying to help me looking for a fishing rod. But all of a sudden, this guy lift up a little rock from the river, and he's like, "Oh no, the fishing rod is not behind that rock. I'm pretty sure it's big. It's not gonna get stuck behind that." But when he said that, right after he said that, that rock fell right across him, like near miss him.
Oh, okay.
Like,
so the naked guy threw the rock at him?
The naked guy threw the rock at him. He said, and that guy began to pick up and start throwing the rock at him. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And it's a really big rock. If it hits even a little bit,
it's gonna crash his head.
Yeah, it's gonna crash his head. So he freaked out, and that guy point a finger at him, and all of a sudden, he hears more of from around the forest, and heard a lot more footsteps, like, and see all this many people, like the face pops up from the forest, and starts to walk towards him.
All naked smiling man.
All naked smiling man. And so he freaked out, and then he ran like he didn't remember like how long he ran for, but he said he went back to his grandmother's place. But well, luckily he found the fishing rod right under it flew down.
Oh, okay.
The river stream.
Right.
And so he found it, and then he picked it up, never looking back. He ran to his grandmother's, and then he told all the stories. And his grandmother says like, "Oh, okay, you saw that. Well, not many people happens to encounter all the such a things. And in here we call it Agari-Bito."
Oh, she knows about this?
She knows about it, and he was surprised. "Oh, what's Agari-Bito?" "Well, you're too young to know, but it's lucky that you found a guy who's actually not a complete Agari-Bito yet."
So that was lucky?
That was a lucky one. He said that was lucky. That's the stories when he was little. And when he shared this on the Nichan, suddenly all the internet breaks. Apparently, many people starts looking up for the Agari-Bito. Like, is it actually exist? A naked man in the forest? What happens to him, and what's about it? All the people starts to find, and many people request for more. Like, is your grandmother still breathing? She knows.
Yeah. Go back to her.
Yeah. And listen.
Force the story out of her.
Yeah, listen more of the stories about Agari-Bito. And he said, "Okay, I will do that, because my grandmother is still breathing and living really healthy." And this story has also happened to me like 10 years ago. So I don't remember the detail. Maybe that day my grandmother's tell me more, but this is all I remember.
Okay. Because she did say that you're too young to know, but now I'm grown up.
Yeah. And now I'm grown up. I have work to do. So, and I happen to go back to Kyushu. So I'll go back to Kyushu and ask the story out of my grandmother.
Yeah.
And he said that, and then he left for a few weeks. And during the few weeks, the web board, like, people starts commenting, they start sketching. Maybe I'll send the picture up, right? Yeah, about the Agari-Bito.
Okay.
And he came back. It was a pretty tough schedule, because he also had a work. He also had to work, and he has so little free time to listen to the stories. But he said he got some. He got some from his grandmother. So he said the day he went back, it was pretty late at night, so he didn't ask anything about the Agari-Bito. But on the next day, his grandmother encouraged him to go to the matsuri. Matsuri is like a small festival in the town. He asked like, is the festival has anything to do with Agari-Bito? I want to hear stories about Agari-Bito, he said. And his grandmother said, just go to Matsuri first. Enjoy yourself. You've been working.
She was being so cryptic the whole time. It was like, why, grandma, why?
And he's like, can't you tell me now? She said like, you've been working a lot. You'll hear my stories anytime.
She's good.
Yeah,
she's good.
She's really good.
Okay.
And so he decides to go to the matsuri, to the festival, and with his neighbor, and his neighbor is like a very tall, large guy, a mountain guy. He's like, oh yeah, there's this matsuri. You go to matsuri, but apparently I have work to do, so you can go with my wife.
Okay.
And so he and his neighbor's wife went to the matsuri, and he starts to ask about the things like, oh, what's this matsuri about, and what are they worshiping? And she's like, oh, this matsuri is nothing. Basically, we're worshiping the mountain gods, and it's tradition for our village. And so, oh, really? So he looked around. Well, there's some small street shops, like small shops that sells takoyaki, yakisoba for a little bit. People start wearing a matsuri mask. And during the end, there's this miko. Miko is like a girl's version of a monk, I think. We call miko. There's this miko like lines up to do the performance, and all of a sudden he took out his phone and he's trying to take a picture, but he got scolded because no phones are allowed. You don't take pictures. We don't do that here. And so he looked at the miko's performance, and all the mikos, they don't face the audience. They all face in this same direction where there's this big mountain, and starts ringing the bells. Like, I don't know what's it called in English, ringing the bells. And so, oh, okay, so they're worshiping the mountain gods. Like, people around here, they believe in the mountain gods. So yeah, we believe that way. We believe that because there's gods in the mountain, that's why we can live happily in the town. Our crops grows food better. People live happily, and people get a job, get married. They have a happy life in town because there's this God in the mountain where it protects the people. And so this kind of rings a bell a little bit. And so do you happen to have any stories about mountain gods? She said, I don't really have any stories, but why are you so curious about finding out some stories in here? There's not so many stories to tell. He didn't say that because people on the internet's waiting for him, right? So he's like, I was just wondering.
Okay.
And so they went back and they began to drink, and his grandmother's joins him and has this conversation about the mountain gods. And so he concludes everything. He concludes the event by saying that so the place where he lives has this belief in mountain gods, that gods live in the mountain, people live in the town. The Agari-Bito is like, if you compare to boa that lives in the mountain. Boa lives with nature, grows up by the nature, came down to the town, and died in the town. Because, well, it can't live, it can't find any food. And the town is not as many food. You can't hunt like you're in the mountain. It's not nature. It's basically the same idea as that people came from nature to the town. And at one point, you would want to go back to where you came from, to the nature. It's not as simple as animal comes down to the town, because that's animal. And people, they believe that gods and people, they are familiar because their appearance, we people have the same appearance as gods. That's what we believe, that gods just look like human. And so we're one rank higher than normal animal. So when we decide to go back to the mountain, we would call those people Agari-Bito. Is that people who awakes a little bit more and wants to go back to nature. So it's the people that going to go back to nature and become a god or become one with the nature. It's basically the same idea as that.
I see.
And so, wow, he was like, oh, really? So there's this idea behind all those stuff. So And what's the one I saw when I was little, I told you that you said that those people are not fully Agari-Bito yet. Do you happen to have any stories that divide the Agari-Bito? They also have the ranks. His grandmother replies that Agari-Bito also have the ranks that how close you are to the gods, because she also happens to have this one story when she was little. And so his grandmother starts telling the stories when she was little. She said, when I was little, there's nothing in the town. It's a small village. We grow crops, we hunt down food from the mountain, we pray to gods. And there's this neighboring town, the neighbor village, will often come and try to steal from us, because their land can grow certain type of crops. So they'll send the small children and come and steal the corpse. The corpse. So during one time, there's this people come and steals the corpse, and because there's not many people living in her village, so they decide to gather as much manpower as they can, run to the mountain to find where the thieves are hiding, where the thieves are taking. So she tracks down with all the adults, and because there's no flashlight, people just carries the
torches,
and the torches don't last forever, right? Apparently, right? So after a while, it goes dark. People rush out because they'll think that if just walk, wasting time, just chill, all the thieves will disappear by then. So they all rush, and she got left behind in the mountain. And so she's a girl, and there's no one around her, and like, what should I do? What can I do? So she starts walking with no direction, and all of a sudden she heard a sound, and the sound is exactly the sound that he heard. And that sound came out from somewhere, so she thought like, maybe the thieves are there. So she rushed to there, and she saw this group, a huge group of people, walk together, all naked. And they start singing with the same tone, with like a weird melody, but no words. Just and all the people like sing with that melody. And in the group of people, she saw some children too. And children are still wearing clothes and holding the corpse. The corpse.
The crops. Okay.
Yeah. And so, that's the thieves. That's the thieves. And I have to go back. I have to go back to tell all the adults that this might be the neighboring village try to steal our crops. But she also is too scared to move, because she thinks that if she moves now, it will make some noise and
they'll come get her.
Yeah, she will get chased. So she just sit there and watch the whole thing. She said the group of people start singing, and all of a sudden, among the group of people, like there's this crowd, right? People splits up into two, and there's one thing walks out from the cloud. It came from nowhere. It's this black shadow that looks not like human at all. It looks like part human, part animal, she said. With this kind of black presence. It's like a guy walking with 4 feet, all the bald head, and a really, really bright white eye. The face looks like a little children, but it's really big, it's really huge. Walks out from the cloud. And when that thing walks out from the cloud, all the sound that the crowd makes, they just stop all of a sudden. And this thing goes to the children and whispers something. She didn't hear because it's far. And that children suddenly take off, put all the things down, take off the clothes, and go inside with the cloud. And the thing goes back to the cloud and also whispers something with the naked man. And that naked man just fall down, like poof. And all the crowd starts singing again. and moves back to the mountain with the children, naked children. And that thing is still there with one lying down naked man. And that thing kind of opens the mouth, a really huge mouth. And she was so scared because she knows what's going to happen next. She kind of, and the sound came out, and that thing turned to her. That's how she knows all the appearance of that thing. She didn't have energy to run, so she passed out there. And when she wakes up in the town. She tells the stories to the people in the town, and all the people. Of course, some people might seen something similar, but not as clear as what she saw that day. So she believes that that thing might be a god, or might be something actually more evil than a god. She doesn't know until today, but she worships them. She thinks that those people, it's just a person that goes back to the nature and live with the nature. It's just the way she wants to believe. And that's basically the whole thing, the whole stories about the Agari-Bito. And after that, there are, of course, so many people starts to comment, and well, these stories, there's so many, seems like a lot of conspiracy is behind the stories. Like, for example, in Japan, we have these crazy people. If you want to get rid of someone with mental illness, you go to the mountain and you drop them there.
Oh, okay.
And somehow they survive. And maybe you witness all those people that survive from the mental illness. Maybe it's the dark side of Japan. And, well, that might be one way to believe it. But the other people just believe that, okay, it might be from the tradition, because the place where you live, Kyushu, especially in that part of area, we have a lot of mountain gods, and all the gods' appearance are different. Dragons, orochi, and kitsune, many appearance, or it's just one type of a god. But that's the whole story is about Agari-Bito. And I think it's new. It seems old.
Yeah.
Because there's this mixture between the old days and the present.
Old village, mountain, forest.
Yeah. Old days, present days, and a lot of things, a lot of stories can be related with American hippies, like during the time when people starts going back to nature. No laws, no rules.
Right.
Be naked all the time. Live, be one with the nature. Maybe that day will come too, or yeah.
But I gotta say, the voice that you made, supposedly what they made, is super spooky. It's like, whoa, man, wow.
Yeah.
And this is pretty new.
It's
I cannot
pretty
believe
new.
that.
Yeah, it's pretty new. Well, these stories, I've listened to thousands and thousands of stories, and also so many urban legends. And somehow these stories kind of grew on me when the time passed by. And I've been thinking about a lot about these stories. It might not be scary, but it's spooky enough to to hear the stories. Even the time goes by and still
it kind of stuck with you.
Stuck with me.
Man.
Yeah. It's a newer urban legends.
Right.
Deeper, more taste in the Japanese source.
Oh yeah.
More taste than shoyu than wasabi.
Right. And I think Japanese people would love to investigate into stories, right?
Yeah.
And try to come up with explanation or even better conspiracy just to make it juicy, fun to tell, and just keep the mystery going. Yeah.
These stories, it can go so many different ways. Like the one I told you, the human is terrifying way, and the belief way where people get close to the gods. Also, some ideas that, or maybe they're actually a group of people who like to live that way. No language, just talk each other by maybe signaling. No barriers.
Yeah.
Have you heard the news that a boy was raised by a wolf?
For sure.
Apparently,
Yeah.
that's and the boy grew up with the wolves, with the just pure nature, and didn't learn to speak, didn't learn to talk, but how can he survive all
It's
that?
very conceivable, right? Even though it's not going to happen like every day, like to a lot of people, but it's conceivable if that situation happened and if a human being baby was raised by a wild animal. Maybe that's how they communicate. Yeah. Or, okay, I really like it. Yeah,
I
but
hope you like it.
For sure, that's the taste of like Japanese.
Yeah.
That's what we love about this because of course we've heard a lot of Thai stories like ghost stories, urban legends, what have you. But Japanese does have their own like characteristics.
Yes,
in their stories.
Yes, and it leaves us thinking about, okay, this might be a true story, or it might just be one fun stories, but it leaves this taste for long and make the listener think that okay, maybe one day we might actually don't need any of the things we have today because we can live with nature,
right?
And the smallest thing you'll need is that just maybe a group trying to survive together or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
going back to nature.
Going back to nature.
Nature and spirit like is huge, like for Japanese like culture and beliefs.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that today we get to like learn a lot more. Not just listening to a fun story that makes you think, but also we can think more about what the story represents or what the story can help us learn about like the culture or like the people. Like, okay, if it happens in Thailand, it's not going to end that way. It's going to be ending like differently, right?
Yes.
But this is how the Japanese stories end. And I think next time we can do even better. Like we can always revisit the Japanese because you have a lot of like stories up your sleeves, but we can go like to like different part of the world too, especially like our neighboring countries. Like, can you imagine like listening and telling stories about like ghosts from like Vietnam or like from Myanmar, from like Brunei? I don't even know if Brunei people have their ghost stories, but I would like to find out. Yeah.
And it's fun. It's always fun because my purpose is that, I think all these stories, if it makes you feel anything, I think I've succeeded in the storytelling perspective. If it makes you feel scary, if it makes you feel spooky, then
yes,
I think I did it. But I think today's stories will make you feel more than that, a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
So I hope people enjoy the story today.
Yes, job well done today. Bravo. Thank you so much for coming. And if you want to hear more ghost stories, of course, we'll have Ton Kla back over and over for this special series of comedy featuring at the Standard. And if you want to share your stories, we can be your Nijang, right? Just write down all the comments and you can also make a request. Like what goes from what countries or from what cultures would you like to listen to in our next episode from Ton Kla, from Kun Put Mut Pahom,เป็น special English version. So thank you so much. And do not forget to go and subscribe to his channel if you haven't already, Kun Put Mut Pahom. And you always have like ghost stories like this, like live every Wednesday. And also on Friday.
Oh, well, Friday.
Do you still have?
Yeah, it's still off season for now. So every Wednesday.
Okay. For now. So just go check out all fun and entertaining good ghost stories.
I hope my English is okay.
Oh, it's great. It is so great.
Since that day, I haven't speak English for a really long time. And so, okay, we're starting to get serious now.
Yes.
And so I tried really hard today. I think editor will help me edit a lot so I speak more smoothly. But
yes.
If you put some behind the scene, you will see me get stuck a lot.
Right. We do appreciate your effort and it's really fun. Right.
Thank you.
Keep coming back. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would
today.
love to come back. I always feel good to have a chance to speak English.
Yes. Right.
ลูกค้าเปลี่ยนเร็วมากเลยทำยังไงถึงจะชนะคู่แข่งได้ธุรกิจทำซัสเทนยังไงให้มันเวิร์กจริงๆใช้ AI ยังไงให้ได้ประโยชน์มากที่สุดเราจะทำให้เรื่องราวของธุรกิจนั้นสนุกเข้าใจง่ายและเอาไปใช้ประโยชน์ได้จริงๆ The Secret Sauce Summit 2024 ปีนี้ต่างจากปีที่ผ่านมาครับ CEO รุ่นใหญ่ๆเก๋าๆประสบการณ์เยอะๆเรายังเชิญเข้ามาอยู่ครับแต่ว่าเราจะเชิญตัวแทนของคนรุ่นใหม่ๆมาด้วยและเรายังมีเอ็กซ์เพิร์ทในมุมอื่นๆไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของ Biotech Neuroscience เรื่องของ TikTok เรื่องของ AI Sustain ทั้งหมดนี้จะทำให้คุณนั้นเป็นนักธุรกิจที่ชนะได้ในคลื่นใหม่ครับเจอกันวันที่ 5-6 กันยายนนี้ที่พารากอนฮอลล์สยามพารากอนซื้อบัตรได้แล้ววันนี้นะครับที่10 Event ครับ